G'day fellas, welcome to a casted game. Spawning in the northwest of the map, I guess we could call it, it's Korix, and he is playing the Rus, his opponent, who spawns in the southeast of the map. It's Hera, and he is playing the English. So we're going to do a little bit of, I guess we could say Viper watch, but instead of watching Viper, we're going to be watching Hera. I guess you could say that. Now the map that we're playing on rather is Mountain Pass, I think I'm going to call it. I'm not sure if that's the exact name for it, but interesting to note that with this map, okay, there is a large mountain range towards the middle. Now, typically towards the edges, there are some ways through, but this one looks like it might actually be choked off. You know what I'd love to see? Imagine like you get a really bad map spawn, and there's actually no pathway through. And it's just like, the first person to get a wonder wins the game. That would be hilarious, man. That would be so funny. I'd love that. They should do that. That would be hilarious. Please do that. Hera now going to begin on the on lumber. So typically with the English Open, or English opening rather, we don't actually see them go for a lumber camp. We just see them go straight from mining camp, stick about 2-3 villages out here. So normally you see 8 to food, 3 to gold, and then begin a transition out to wood, and then from 3 to gold you can choose what you're going to be doing. Whether you want to look at potentially adding a second town center, whether you want to look for upgrades. But Hera now going to begin moving out on the map. Looks like he's found that triple sheep, that all-important triple sheep out towards the middle of the map. And we'll take a look over at his opponent now. He has actually spotted out his hunt behind his base. He hasn't actually killed it. So keep in mind that when you're playing against the Rus, as Korix is playing the Rus, that ideally you want to be killing these huntable deer, because if you kill them, your enemy can't kill them. And if your enemy kills them, they're going to get that juicy, juicy gold. We see right now that that Korix is sitting on 208 gold despite not having a single mining camp. And as a result, it means he's gotten all of that from his hunting. So he hunts the Gaia. So that can be things like the boar, that can be things like the deer up here, and that can even be things as small and simple as the sheep. Now going to be also collecting in this wolf. And you might be wondering where that gold goes or what it does, or if there's any other bonus to it, and I assure you, yes, there is. So that is called a bounty bonus, and you can see it actually over on the left-hand side of your screen, just above the population. So right above here is the bounty bonus, and you can see that he's actually just reached his first tier, so tier 1 is unlocked, and that gives him 5% villager food harvest rate. It also increases the gold rate that his hunting cabins generate. So these little hunting cabins right here, these guys generate passive gold depending on how many trees they've got in this circle. So you can see this nice little circle. Now, don't be afraid of putting your lumber camp near them. As long as you put that hunting cabin down before you start chopping the trees, then it's okay. Because as far as I'm aware, as long as you could chop down this entire forest, and this hunting cabin would still give you 20 gold a minute. So you really are prioritized to try and go get these hunting cabins down before you start chopping. Now at the back, Korik's going to be going down with a golden gate. 4 villagers on that one, so relatively quick age up he's looking for here. We'll take a look over at Hera's perspective, and Hera going to be going up with the council hall. No surprises there. 4 villagers going to be building this one up, 2 from gold, as well as 2 from food. And now going to continue gathering up that wood. So I'm curious to see how his opening's going to be. Hera actually realizing, oh, hold on a minute, I've got to kill those deer. You see him animation canceling right now. So there's a little technique I taught the entire world. Probably shouldn't have, but I guess you guys would have worked it out eventually. So animation canceling enables your scout to fire your arrows as quickly as you can actually maneuver it to. So the trick to doing it, you want to target the deer, you move, and then you target the deer again. So you fire your arrow, you move, and then you fire again. It's going to enable you to get that extra quick shot in on your enemy, or on your deers rather. Now, keep in mind, you can probably do that, or I think you can actually do that with wolves. The town center is much more effective against wolves, and that's exactly why we've seen both players luring wolves back to their town centers. And now towards the north of the map, it looks like Hera, despite scouting out this hunt earlier, which he didn't actually kill, is not going to be able to pick up that hunt because Korix has gone in, done him a little bit of the dirty. 2 scouts out for Korix. We'll take a look from his perspective. He does indeed only have 2 scouts out. Now, typically you can see a number of different combinations that players go for, but 2 is generally considered to be the standard amount of scouts that you want to open with. Any more than that, and you can probably look at stealing deer. Now, if I was Korix and I spot that my enemy has already expanded out to this early deer, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go steal it. Now, this isn't the most optimal mill placement from Hera, but I will note that he's probably going to be making more than 1 mill out here. I wouldn't be surprised to see him actually put a second mill out here, because realistically, he's going to have farms around this, and then he's going to have farms around this in the late game. Hera now going to be aging up Rather, Corix now going to be aging up. We'll take a look at what he's macroing for. Going to be dropping down a stable there, so I can expect that we're going to see some early lances coming out from him. Going to be picking up another wolf here and picking up that second tier. You can see that second tier is at 250. And we'll take a look at Hera's base, exactly what he's up to. Going to begin gathering stone, and for anybody unfamiliar with stone, there's a couple of things that you can do for it, but in the early game, primarily what you're going to be looking at doing is dropping down that town center. A couple of good locations for him to be dropping down that town center. Ideally, when you're dropping down a town center, you want to be thinking about two things, and that is resources, and they should be different resources. Now, whether you combine that with things like a gold and a berries right here, which looks pretty good, or a stone and a berries right here, or a triple threat right there, which is a rare thing to actually see. Normally, what you want to be doing, though, is actually having a tree line. A tree line is going to be very helpful for you. So a spot like this is going to be very good for Hera, because it's going to mean that he doesn't need to mill up the berries. It's going to mean that he doesn't need to lumber camp that tree line, and all of his villages are going to be very safe because they're kind of insulated here. The alternative would be to go for like a nice spot like this, which is just like, you know, a lumberjack's wet dream. That is just so incredible to have forests like that. You could also go in for here, wall off that front, and you've just got, you know, lumber for days, baby, lumber for days. Night now going to be coming out for Corix. Hera is shadowing it back to his base, so keeping an eye on it as it comes in. And going to be spotting out a couple of different scouts, shadowing him all the way through to the base, and no actual longbows coming out just yet for Hera. I take that back. 9 longbows coming out now for Hera. Now, keep in mind, with the matchup between these two civilizations, Knights have got 3 armor on them. Now, he's got to be careful here. If he isn't careful, he's going to lose a village. In fact, I do suspect he may lose a villager here. He's only got 50 HP on this one. Going to be bringing it back, but Corix actually deciding, you know what, I'm not interested. Now, one of the great reasons why English are actually very effective in this matchup and in this, compared to a normal civilization, a non-early night civilization, is because their longbows do 1 extra damage than enemy archers. So an archer civilization, let's say the Chinese or the Delhi Sultanate, in this situation, if they wanted to get archers out, their archers would be doing 5 damage. And you guys are good at maths, right? So I'm going to give you some quick maths. What's 6 damage minus 3 armor? It's 3. They do 3 damage to knights. Okay, but if you've got a normal archer, which only does 5 damage, okay, what is 5 damage to 3 armor knights? It's 2 damage. So, despite having only 1 attack more, they actually do 50% more damage. And that's an incredible amount of damage in the early game. So really important mechanic to consider, or interaction. So longbows are actually quite decent in a matchup like this. Typically, we would think of, you know, French versus the English, or Rus versus the English as a bad matchup for the English, but it's not what you think. Let's just say that much. Hera now going to be scouting out the base of his opponent. Does spot that he's got an archery range down himself. So whether this is the correct counter or not, it will take time to work that one out. Horseman now going to be coming in and chasing away that one, and I actually think this is the correct play from Corix, looking to get Horseman out here. Essentially, he can go Horseman, and Horseman are going to do a lot more damage per capita to enemy archers than the Knights are. Knights, even though people might be thinking, yeah, okay, Knights are better than Horsemen, that is true, okay? However, you need to consider the cost. So if we take a look at the cost for a knight is sitting at 140, 100, okay? 140 food, 100 gold. The horseman is 100 food and 20 wood. So there's a significant cost difference. For every knight that you can make 2 horsemen. Okay, in addition to that, horsemen get a bonus damage against ranged units. So it's basically 18 damage. Times that by 2, you got 36 damage. Times it by 2 again, you got 310 HP. But one of the things that you are lacking is that armor, and you can just see how easily those longbows begin to pierce through that horseman armor, or that lack thereof. But now coming through, it's actually siege engineering and iron undermesh. So going the wrong way around here, definitely needing to go iron undermesh first and then siege engineering for Corix. We'll take a look from his perspective and see what he actually sees. So ideally, he doesn't actually have any archers out at this point. So he has that siege engineering in, but he can't actually use it at this point. Now, he could very easily clean this up. I don't know why he's not actually committing to it, and looks like he's going to come in. Hera's palings are coming in a little bit too late. Ideally, he should have had these set up before the fight begins, but now you can see that stun coming through. A couple of those horsemen losing their balance, but Hera now going to be getting caught up a little bit here, but managing to actually have a pretty effective trade at the same time down towards the south. Coric's going to be losing out his scout and probably going to be losing that sheep as it decides to change allegiance because it found that mill just a little bit too attractive. And Hera getting a very, very decent trade here. Those palings definitely coming in at just the right time to save him. A little bit of a wolf out here. I don't think he's actually going to be spotting it. But now expanding up towards the north and a little bit of a far travel here. He's actually got the boar carcass out here. He needs to be building a hunting cabin right on top of this. Now keep in mind, as the Rus, you are disincentivized from these sorts of expansions onto berries. And the reason why is because the hunting cabin is an expensive expansion. Hunting cabin costs 100 wood. Compare that to your opponent who is putting down mills, and the mill's only costing 50 wood. Let's take a look at the English villagers here. 50 wood. So this is essentially you're paying for 2 mills. So imagine if you had a mill here and a mill here, it would be just the exact same cost. So you might be asking, okay, well, Drongo, how do I take these berries then if I can't build a hunting cabin? Well, it's not that you can't build the hunting cabin. It's just that ideally you should be looking for maybe... What? Are we watching Low Elo Legends right now? Coric's now going to be getting in on top of Hera. We'll talk a little bit about what we just saw right now and... or what we just saw before, but after we watch what happens, looks like Hera is going to be running back towards his base. 4 more archers going to be coming out for him, Longbowman, and looking to make the connection onto those horsemen. Actually putting down some early palings. I love this from Hera. Very, very smart. Now going to be catching up all of those knights, doing effective damage to them. You can see just how slow they are. Longbow's now out on the back line, and it looks like he's going to have a bit of a tough time here, I'll be honest with you. This is... I love that Hera is literally like, you know what, I'm just going to make only longbows. Going to be getting that +1 projectile upgrade as well. So piercing that armor extra tough. And Hera looking like he's in a pretty decent spot going for this second expansion. As we mentioned earlier in the game, this is exactly where you want to be expanding. As the English, you get the berries, you get the wood line. So great spotting from Hera. Let's go back and talk a little bit about what we saw on the north side of the map. There is a concept called long-distance mining, long-distance hunting, long-distance chopping. And this would be Exhibit A for long distance. Ideally, you want to have 8 villagers sitting up on this board, and you want to have the hunting cabin or the mill sitting right next to it so that the walking distance for those villagers is minimal. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to count the time it takes for the villagers to walk and the time it takes for them to collect. So let's count this one. 19, so 19, starting at 19. How long does it take for this villager to come out all the way out to this boar? Started at 19. 28. Okay, so it took him 9 seconds in, 9 seconds out, 18 seconds. How long does it take him for him to actually gather the boar? Keep in mind, he was down here at 28. Keep watching. He's up at 38. He's spending 60% of his time walking and 33% of his time gathering. If this boar was right next to this hunting cabin, or if this hunting cabin was right next to this boar, they would be doing 100% of their gathering and 0% walking. So it's really, really important that with a boar, especially something that's worth 2,000 food, that you've got a hunting cabin or a mill right next to that bad boy, because this is what you call ineffective gathering. Even though it looks like you've got 23 on sheep on food right now, you do not. In addition to that, you see a little bit of a gap right here. Once again, it's the exact same concept that's happening here. And you've got to be very careful of it. So you want to have this mining camp as close to this gold vein as possible. You want to have this thing snug, hug up right next to it. You don't want to have it in the middle. Even if you've got a gold mine on the other side, you don't want to put it in the middle. You just want to make a second gold mine. And now the battering ram begins to make its way in. So I hope for anybody watching this who might be a bit newer to the game understands exactly what that was about. And Coric's realizing that there might be a bit of a longbow mess that he's got to deal with now. Let's take a look and see how Hera does with his longbow mass. I feel like maybe I should start playing the English. I really like the English. I like their defensive nature. It's probably a civilization that synergizes quite well with my playstyle as well. You know what? I'm going to start maining the English. Watch out. Keep an eye on this one, boys. And girls. And ambies. Longbow's now going to be doing their best to focus down the battering ram, but keep in mind it's got that 15 ranged armor and going to be taking just very little scratches. Coric's making the right decision and focusing down the archery range here. That is the correct play. After that, the correct play is to come out over to this council hall and begin sieging it from down here on the south side. He's got not a significant mass, or an insignificant mass, I guess we could call it. Hera is going to be able to dive underneath his town center with villagers in this town center, which he's got plenty of them here. They're going to be firing those double arrows. And in addition to that, you just see how quickly he's beginning to whittle away. He could get his palings out right here if he wanted to, but now villagers going to be diving inside the town center, firing off those double arrows, and Hera doing a decent job. Really looking like he's got a very decent lead here. Corix, when it comes to his potential options, he can't really push into this. So he could have opened with a triple range and then could have outmassed the Longbowman. But unfortunately, he hasn't, so it means he's going to be behind significantly. And the only time he's actually going to be able to outscale this is actually never. Because now that Hera is on 2 TCs, it's essentially a good game. He hasn't actually scouted the second TC just yet. It's essentially a good game unless Corix somehow gets back into it with a giant raid. That's really only the way that he can get back into it, is like some sort of multitasking mass raid. Maybe Hera goes AFK, you know, someone knocks at the door, he can't pause the game, and Corix pushes in with 57 horsemen and he kills 1,000 villagers. Like, maybe that could get him back into the game, but at this point, there's really no way that I can see that Corix could get back into the game. But in saying that, Hera now pushing out despite actually having a decent lead, and this is actually what can cost you the game. So what does Hera need to do in this position? He probably needs to age up. I would stay in my base, I would age up. That is probably the play to make here. Now, keep in mind, Corix has got a lot of options open to him. He could look at potentially dropping down a second town center himself, maybe even a third town center himself, but to do that, you need a window. And you don't have a window right now because your enemy is pushing in with 30 Longbowmen. Does he have the siege engineering tech? He doesn't actually have siege engineering just yet, so no real threat to any infrastructure, but it is going to force your villagers to come back. We see them putting on a little bit of a jog right there. And this is what he's got to be careful of. This mass begins to build right now, okay? 5 knights, 9 horsemen. The knights are out the front. They're going to be tanking horsemen in the back. Corix is doing this correctly. Paling's now going to be coming out for the Longbowman, and this is a difficult spot for Hera because now he's overcommitted. He's got a bit of a push on the front line, and now very easily Corix is going to find himself a little bit of a window to get back into this game because he's going to be able to clean up this mass that Hera's made. And very overwhelmingly, he's going to be doing it. So for anybody wondering why the Palings there, Palings are going to be stunning cavalry as well as issuing a little bit of damage. I think it's 25 damage that they do, but it's nowhere near enough to clean up that amount of cavalry. So as I mentioned earlier, so the best bet that Hera could have made in that situation was to just simply stay in his base and age up. He decided to age up, but he actually left to push. So a bit of a mistake. Typically, you want to avoid pushing when you're aging, because what's going to happen, right? You're going to have access to the veteran Longbowman upgrade, and that's going to give you a significant bolstering of your statistics. Hera also going for the White Tower here. Ideally, even though he's sitting on 2 TCs, ideally you want to go for the King's Palace. This isn't such an important piece of land that you need to control with a keep. At least not in my opinion, but I guess Hera's decided against it. Now in a bit of a difficult spot for Hera. We talked about this. Unless Hera makes a massive mistake, he's going to have this game very easily, but now in a bit of a difficult spot. He's on 79 villagers. A lot of these villagers are going to have to enter inside the White Palace. They do get inside, so going to be White Castle burgers for everybody. More barracks is going to be going down for him. This barracks almost incomplete. Iron Undermesh getting complete. Do we see that veterancy getting queued up just yet? No, we do not. Town Center going to be firing out all those arrows. He does have the +1 upgrade for his Pierce armor as well. But now it looks like the Longbowman from Hera sitting in a pretty decent spot. I think he's going to be quite happy with where he's at right now. He has reached the next age. He's going to be able to put down a market. I don't know exactly why he's going for a market. I don't know whether he thinks... no, Age of Empires 2 doesn't have market upgrades. I wonder what the thought process is behind this market. Is he going to look to trade down here at the trading post, potentially? It's kind of wild. Kind of wild. White Tower effectively dismantling the push of Corix. And once again, we can see players making mistakes where they both decide to push. And once again, Hera doing the exact same thing where he's deciding to push out. The defender's advantage in this game is very significant, okay? The further you get away from your base, the longer your reinforcements take, the closer you get to your enemy's base, the sooner their reinforcements come. And that's exactly what we continue to see here as players continue to trade army for army. But I do love that Hera is just willing to push out with these masses of longbows, and just, he knows that his enemy is making 100% cavalry, and he's like, I'll deal with it. I'm not fussed. You know, like, he's not even bothered. We'll take a look down towards the south. He has got this market still sitting here, but hasn't actually dropped it down. Well, rather, he's dropped it down. He hasn't decided to actually construct it. Villages with a little bit of a curious path right there, but looks like they might actually fix that up. And Hera now losing all of his longbowmen, but not to be worried, not to be worried. He's lost all of his longbowmen, I think, twice before now. So third time's the charm, right? Veteran longbows now going to be coming in, so getting a +2 damage upgrade, also getting an extra, I think it's an extra 15 HP. I'd have to double check my stats on that one. I'm not sure exactly how much HP that is, but it's pretty decent of a buff. And Now going to continue that mass. We see that he's gathering stone, so probably going to be going for a castle himself. I don't know if I really agree with this castle location, primarily because it doesn't really seem to be defending much. We'll take a look over at Corex's perspective, going up to the castle age himself now. We'll see if we can locate his landmark. It looks like he's gone with a high trade house. Not a bad landmark position, 72 gold a minute. Ideally, if he could have got this landmark down here, or oh my god, if he'd gotten this landmark right here. Actually, probably not even that good of a spot. Ideally, you want to get as many trees as you can in that circle. These guys act as a hunting cabin, so we talked about the hunting cabin earlier in the game. Acts exactly the same as that. Just gives a higher level of gold, so an extra 200%. Corex, once again, going to be picking up some free longbows here. And I don't know, what do we call this video for YouTube? YouTube's going to be watching this. Is this the longbow massacre of 2021? Is this what's happening? It's like, Hera loves to lose longbows? Like, ooh, I don't know what's even happening right now. Hera just continues to push out with these small masses of longbows, thinking that they're spears, and just running it down. So, it's a curious decision. Hera still with a significant lead at this point. Keep in mind, he has added that second town center. We do a quick stock take, 95 villages for Hera. Compare that over to his opponent, who's sitting on 56. So up about 40 villages at the moment. You can expect roughly 40% more units to be coming out as a consequence. Well, actually, not even that. It's going to be significantly more, maybe close to 100% more units coming out for him, just because he's got so many more villages. But Corex gonna continue adding a siege workshop now. I do like this from Corex. If there's one way back into this game for Corex, other than Hera just donating quite large sums of veteran longbowmen to his opponent, it's actually through the siege workshop, and it is of course through the mangonel. It is one of my favorite units in the game, just simply because of its strength. It is an incredibly strong unit, able to take out entire armies of longbowmen, archers, spears all together in 3 shots. But now Hera looking to push out. Now finally pushing out with some spears. He's like, wait a minute. Spearmen counter cavalry. And he's realized, so spearmen do have that hidden bonus against cavalry. You can see actually when they're torching siege, they get a bonus against siege. But when they're not torching siege, they will have a bonus against cavalry. There you go. It's the plus 18, so doing a total of 27 damage to cavalry, and Hera getting off a very nice shot there with the plus 2 attack. There's still no melee armor for Hera, but going to begin pushing in underneath the town center. Ideally, he's going to need a ram to deal with this, but mangonel going to be coming out right now for Corex. Another 20 seconds on that bad boy, and 1 shot into this, and it's going to be more than enough for these knights rather to be cleaning up. I suspect this is going to be quite big right here. If Hera is paying attention, it could be the difference. He is not splitting. Does Hera actually spot this out? Hera has spotted this out. We did see him come in. He should know that there is a mangonel coming. Hera needs to wake up right now. Mangonel going to be coming out. Does it fire from within line of sight or from out of line of sight? Hera wakes up. He spots the mango. He looks to set up some palings. He's decided to set palings up in the wrong direction and taking a huge mangonel shot. Looks like about 12 units getting hit right there. Second mangonel shot getting lined up right now. The mangonel on the move. Second shot looking to come through. Decides to pack back up, sitting on top of the mountain. Not going to get a range bonus. Mangonel shot coming off those 3 arrows coming in, and deciding to just overshooting it just a little bit. Spears getting in on the action as well, and Hera moving up as close as he can to the mangonels. Mangonel's getting a great shot off at point blank range on those spearmen, and it looks like they're actually going to be doing a pretty decent job of cleaning it up. The mangonel's just doing an amazing job. It looks absolutely hilarious as they fire into the sky, and now mangonel's getting out another good shot, firing it in on these spears at the back, and you can see why mangonels are so damn good at this game. He needs to bring these villagers forward, potentially to heal this, because now the siege is going to begin. Mangonel getting another great shot off on the back line, and just, you really see why mangonels are so damn strong in this game. Here they go for another one. Let's take a look at Hera's army. And there go down more of Hera's enemy, or more of Hera's army. And at this point, you can really see why those mangonels are so damn good. Despite being 1,000 score behind, we can see that Hera is still having a difficult spot here. Looks like a little bit of a forward castle going to be going down for Hera. Villagers going to be moving up to build that, but it doesn't look like there's too many of them. Only a handful, eight villagers. And I tell you what, mangonel is going to be dealing very effectively with that, and Hera realizes has to fall back. Gosh, did I just say that? Hera has to fall back. And now going to be... I mean, he's really just throwing... At this point, I feel like Hera is just throwing spaghetti at a wall and just hoping some of it sticks. Mangonel getting off a pretty small shot here. A lot bigger of a shot, but now mangonel in the backline as well. This could be terrible for Hera. First mangonel going to be going down. Do we see any more mangonels coming in? Nothing yet, just at the moment. A significant mass here for Hera, and I don't even think enough mangonel, or this mangonel is going to be able to hold this off. We can see as the longbows continue to move up into point-blank range. Mangonel's shot comes up into the sky, takes out a couple more spearmen, and now moving directly underneath. Another Mangonel going to be coming out for Corix. It's the battle of Mangonels, getting out a decent shot, but only hitting it looked like one longbowman and a single spearman. Now moving right underneath, and we can actually see a little bit of a moonwalk happening right there. Actually, no, it was facing the right way. Mangonel's doing their best to try and fight this off, and Hera looks like he might actually be pushing in for a death push. I'm curious to know, does Hera actually have... He does have the upgrade. He's going to be able to start building, or training, rather, those all-important battering rams to be able to get underneath this town center. Otherwise, the town center is going to shred through those melee units. All of the Mangonels have gone down, and Hera looks like he's at a bit of a commanding lead. Now we do see that battering ram going down. Siege beginning on the town center, but keep in mind, with any amount of villagers inside, it's going to begin adding arrows to it. On the back line, Lance is now beginning to charge, and the question is, does Corix have anything in queue at the moment? He's got a siege workshop, nothing in queue, no other siege workshop that's nearby, and that's the only real thing that could sway this fight. Plenty of damage coming out from the 16 torch damage in total. Combine that with the fact that there's 18 of them, and I'm just going to do some quick math, but that is a lot of siege. That's a lot, yeah. I'm doing the math. Yeah, what is it? Less than 320, about 296? Am I right? 296? I think that could be it. Maybe 294. Corix now gonna be typing in the GG, giving up the game. Hera claiming the victory there and demonstrating his English prowess and dropping a castle as he does it. Good game goes over to him. If you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed this demolition derby of English longbows, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.